Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Shatter and Breathe podcast, episode 16. I am your host, Sean, and as always, I would like to wholeheartedly thank you for being here. What a year and a half it has been, that's for sure. I do apologize for not having brought it back sooner than this. I think most of you that listen to this obviously know me personally, so I know you understand, but if any of you out there who do listen, who don't know me personally, I thank you for being here as well. The fact that you don't know me personally and you care what I had to say about anything means a lot to me, so I do thank you for that, and I'm so glad to have you here. But life has, for lack of a better way to put it, has been interesting the last year and a half. And we're going to get into it. For those of you who have listened to the podcast before, I had taken a break. I had cut the first season short by 5 episodes. I was going to go to 20 originally. However, as you who've listened know, my mom was starting her cancer treatments. She had been diagnosed with throat cancer in February last year. And so her treatments were going to start. I can't remember if they had started. I think they did. I think they already had started when I decided to cut it short. But I stopped it at 15 so I could focus on my mom and being with her through her treatments and at home, as well as try to handle it on my end too, with the mental side of things, the emotional side. And I had planned, as we all do, we plan to have brought the podcast back around June last year. However, to try to sum it up as best I can without going on too long about it, after my mom had completed her treatments, which she rock starred through them all, like she handled them so well. She is one of the strongest people I know. She powered through it. We got through all of them, all 35 radiations, all 3 chemo, all the fluids, all the iron transfusions. Got through everything. Her main goal, besides getting healthy again, was to be able to attend my cousin Jenna's wedding. And she got to, thankfully. However, I'm not really sure how much she really got to enjoy it, because that same weekend was the weekend where things started to get bad. It had been about a week, 2 weeks after post-treatment, and over the course of this weekend, she just got really weak. You could tell that she was fatigued, she was wore down from it all, especially at the end of the treatments. Because that's what it does. That's the reality of it. I've gone through it. If you're listening and you've gone through bouts with cancer yourselves, you understand it. If you've had chemo, if you've had radiation, even if you've just done radiation, with my first encounter with cancer, I did both radiation and chemo. And the one in 2020, I just did radiation post-removal. Even just radiation will fatigue you. It will wear you down. And then you add chemo on top of that. It's a different animal. And you know that if you've gone through it, you know that if you've seen it. But she powered through it, and I emphasize on that so much because of how much of a shock it came to me. That about 2 weeks later, after treatments are done, her blood count dropped critically. Her white blood cells, her red blood cells, her platelets, everything plummeted. She had developed a brain bleed, which we later understood was a stroke. She developed a severe throat bleed that ended up doing a lot of damage to her throat on top of the tumor that was there and the radiation. Over a course of, well, our lives pretty much changed the day she got diagnosed. It starts before then. Even when you start the process of it could be this, that's when it starts. Even before that, the signs start. Whenever she was starting to have sore throats all the time, I started to get worried. There's a saying in the medical field, when you hear, how's it go? When you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras. And, but having the medical history I have, I typically go straight to zebras because I have anxiety as well. But yeah, our lives changed pretty drastically when she got the diagnosis. And then, the day after she got her diagnosis, my dad had a stroke. A week after that, he had a continuation of that stroke. Sorry. But so we spent weeks helping him rehabilitate, which thank God he has recovered so well, considering he had to. I think it's technically one stroke, but the continuation is part of the first one. But he had 2 strokes basically, and he's recovered so incredibly compared to where he was. He came back strong from that. But we were spending those weeks in prep for my mom's treatment to start, with rehabilitation and making sure he was okay and hospital visits and all that while he was in his room when he was admitted. And then, thankfully, he started recovering, he started getting stronger. And then my mom started her treatments, got through those. Then, amongst all that change, that weekend is when, within less than a week, basically our lives not just changed, our lives turned upside down, because we went from a mindset of road to recovery, done with treatment, getting better, to in the ICU, not sure if I was going to have my mom anymore. Me and my sister in the ICU waiting room, at one point basically waiting to find out if we still had our mom. There was a fraction of a chance that she was going to come through with it, because the bleed in her throat was so bad, they weren't able to find the source of it. They weren't able to figure out where the bleed was coming from. And it came down to them telling us that sorry, I turned my heater off. It came down to them telling us that one of two things, or both, or whatever, but there's two things that can happen that will pretty much save her life. One, they find where the bleed is coming from. Hopefully, it's not along a major artery. But if they do find where it is, hoping it's a place to where they can stop the bleeding. And the other outcome that we would hope for would be for it to just stop bleeding on its own. So to put it blunt, we're in the waiting room waiting to hear if a miracle happened or if our mom died. I remember sitting there in the waiting room with my sister, holding my mom's wedding ring in my hand. She couldn't have it on because they needed to do MRIs and all these tests, and that she couldn't have it on. So I held on to it for her. And while we were waiting to hear, basically if she was going to make it or not, I couldn't hold her hand. So all I could do is which me and my sister, we were talking to each other, we were there for each other. But anybody who's been in a situation similar, there's that quiet time after yins talk and console, and there's that quiet time yins have. And during that quiet time, I just wanted to hold her hand. I just wanted to talk to her, but I couldn't. So I held her rings in my hand, and I squeezed them. And I started to pray in a way that I was talking to her. That was my prayer. I prayed for God to let me talk to her through him. And essentially, I spent my time waiting, holding her hand, by holding her ring, and talking to her through prayer. Whatever your faith may be, whatever you believe in, whatever you don't believe in, I completely respect everyone's choice and what they believe. But if you've listened before, or you know me personally, you know I'm a Christian. So that's what I did. That's all I could do. That's all I could think to do, while I waited to hear if I still had my mom or not. And the doctor came out. You could see the relief in his face. So I instantly feel this rush of some relief, but controlled relief, because you don't know what he's going to tell you yet. But the bleed had stopped on its own. They couldn't find it. They never did find the source of the bleed. But it stopped on its own. It stopped on its own, and they, of course, I think they already had her on some blood transfusions. So they pretty much started to monitor everything. In the thick of everything, her blood counts were down, her creatinine was high, her kidney function, she was borderline kidney failure. It was so bad. It was so bad. She went from ICU to ICU, and she was in the hospital down in Pittsburgh for 4 months. there was a um about a week where she wasn't even waking up because she just wasn't coming out of her she was put under so they could intubate her when her throat was bleeding, because to help try to fight the bleeding they had to pack her throat with packing, and she couldn't breathe, so they intubated her. And after that procedure, she wasn't waking up. And it took days. It took about a week. I want to say it took about 5 to 7 days for her to wake up. It felt longer. I was telling this to somebody a few weeks back, and then I went back and looked at records and things I had from everything going on, and if to me it felt like weeks. I was down there with her every day, all day, and for so many days it was just me sitting there and her sleeping, her not waking up, and them trying to figure out why she wasn't waking up. But eventually she woke up. She opened them pretty blue eyes of hers, and it was bit by bit, just things improving, numbers getting better, being more awake, listening and obeying commands and all that stuff. But she slowly started to improve, thank God. And that's pretty much, she was down there for 4 months. She came home last October, the end of September last year, so it's coming up exactly on a year now from when we brought her home. They were strongly recommending us put her in a nursing home, a living facility, and I told them no. We all were set on that fact that she was coming home. She wasn't going to a nursing home, assisted living, whatever you want to call it. She wasn't going there. She was coming home. And that's what we did. That's where she was. That's where she went. That's where she is now. She's home where she belongs. And this last year, it's basically been 24/7, keeping an eye on my mom, taking care of her, helping her, working with her. That is my full-time job. It was for the longest time, and not getting paid for it, nothing like that. I didn't start officially working as a caretaker and my mom being my client until this month, September of 23. I've spent the last year just taking care of her, me and my dad at home. Whenever I try to sleep during the day, he'll keep an eye on her. If I spend time with friends, which it took me a while to start doing that, because for the first few months I wasn't leaving the house. I was afraid to leave her. But I don't work on the clock 24 hours a day, but it is a 24/7 job being a caretaker for a loved one. Because even if I'm asleep, even if I'm not home, if something happens, I'm getting woke up. I'm coming home. So even when I'm not even here at home with her, I'm on call basically. And it's just been that way for the last year. I've not had a chance to decompress. I've lost almost all of my outlets. Almost all of them. I don't have me time, except for, this is my first sort of attempt at me time. Taking an hour before I go to sleep to talk to you guys. I've never really had the chance to, because it's taken me a long time to try to relax, try to take some time when I'm home. And I mean, this is cutting into my sleep time, but I don't care. This is going to help me. I'm blessed with amazing people in my life that help me through these times. I got so many people in my life who have been there for me. Besides my amazing family, my dad and my sister, my mom, of course. Thank God. I'm just, despite everything that's happened, if nothing else, I'm thankful. Because my mom, my dad, and myself, in the last year and a half, have all went through rehabilitation. Because after my mom's diagnosis, my dad had his stroke. He had the continuation a week later. And then while my mom was in the hospital for those 4 months, I ended up in the hospital for about 2 weeks because I developed I developed chronic blood clots in my legs. I couldn't walk. I was in absolute pain constantly. And so I was put in the hospital for 2 weeks. It took me about a month at least to really recover. And then my mom, when she came home, and while she was in the rehab center at the hospital, she was going through her rehab, and she's still technically going through rehab with us working with her at home, trying to get her stronger. It's a never-ending battle until she gets there, and I believe she's going to get there. She has a trachea in her throat still. She has a G-tube in her stomach, but I truly believe that she's going to get those out, and she's going to be herself again. Do I believe that every side effect will go away? No. I feel like things will linger, but I truly, in my heart, truly believe that she will be herself again. She will get back to being able to walk on her own, live life, basically, know where she's at, just live, be her. I truly believe she will. It would seem like that's very much against the odds, but that's what this entire year and a half's been, is against the odds and coming through it. Around December last year, it was around Christmas time, she ended up in the hospital because she was having another bleed coming from her throat. And the first thing you think of, oh my God, what's happening now? Is it happening again? And they were telling us that they were 99% sure, and this is a very prominent hospital, they were 99% sure that the cancer was coming back, and it was coming back more aggressive. That's what they told us. They told us, towards the end of that situation, they told us that they are 98 to 99% sure that the cancer is coming back aggressive, and if it comes back as confirmed, it would be basically a waiting game, getting her comfortable. 99%. And I told I believe it was the PA, if I'm not mistaken, or no, it might have been another doctor actually, just on the head doctor's team. Anyway, I told her when she said that, I said, okay, but if you're telling me there's even 1% chance that it's not cancer, I'm going to hold on to that. And that's what I did. I held on to it. I felt inside myself, inside my heart, inside my gut, I felt it wasn't cancer. It wasn't going to be cancer. They could tell me 99% all they want. I didn't believe it. And thank God it wasn't. It turned out that was just her uvula bleeding, which was what I believe was a byproduct from the radiation damage. But they cauterized it. They cauterized the uvula, and thankfully we haven't had a problem since with that. But that's just my point of odds don't matter to me. I come from a place of faith. Whether you have faith in God or the universe or what have you, when you feel something, you go with it. When you feel something genuine, you go with it. You trust your gut. You don't have to even attribute it to religion or anything like that. Whatever you believe in, you believe in. And essentially, if you trust your gut with something, a lot of times it's going to be right, because that's not just you thinking. That's your being thinking. That's your being talking to you. So, that all being said, the odds that we've gotten through as a family, all three of us still being here. My sister even had a bit of a health scare during this time. Thank God it turned out to not be something super serious. And the fact that we are all here today, I'm basically fully recovered. I still have some swelling, but nowhere near what I was going through. My dad's walking, my dad's driving, my dad's talking, he's starting to finally be able to use his right arm more again. Way more than during the journey of recovery. My mom's still here with us, and she's still improving. Little bits of her keep showing up every so often. It's a very slow process, but compared to where she was, compared to what news we were waiting for, compared to us having talks about DNRs and making her comfortable, and despite all those odds, we're still here. We're not giving up on that. And I've just seen way too much to give in. I've seen way too much to give up on myself or my family. And so on top of all that, like I said, I wasn't employed as a caregiver until this month. So on top of everything else, that was financial struggles. That was crippling anxiety on top of already crippling anxiety with my mom, my dad, me, my sister. It was just a lot. It's a lot, and I'm still trying to process through it all. I still have a road to go processing all that. And also, I'll be honest, a lot of my issues too, a lot of my struggles as well is guilt. Hindsight really is 20/20. I have a lot of guilt towards what happened. I should have did this better. I should have took note of that more effectively. I should have pushed for this. I should have kept on for this. I should have... There's a lot of, There's a lot of things I wish I would have done different. And I know I know we don't know what's going to happen until it happens. For the most part, anyway. I mean, that's true in general. We don't really know. We can assume, we could think, we could whatever, but the guilt weighs heavy on me, and it still does. I don't know if it ever won't. And that's been another big part of what I struggle with. There was a point during this, not now, thankfully I am doing a little better. There's still a big part of me right now I'm trying to get through so I can start finding more peace. But there was a time where I actually did get very scared for my well-being. I got scared for my mental health. I was worried. One thing I miss about this podcast and talking to you guys is I talk about things I've never told anybody else. And this is going to be one of them. The point that scared me internally about myself, what it was. I've told people, I've expressed it, how I was in a very dark place. I sunk very low in my mental health. I've told people that. I've been open about that. Which is something I've worked on for the last couple years, is being more open. Talking about it more, not just bottling up and helping everyone else, trying not to pour from an empty glass, So I've been working on that for years. So I've been open about that, but I've never told anybody what that point was, what it resonated as. My mom can't drink through her mouth. She has a G-tube for that. Her throat is still damaged. It's still healing. She can't drink because if she drinks, then it's going to go through her. It's going to go into her lungs, basically. So she can't drink. My mom will sometimes, not all the time, but once in a while, she will ask for water. And she'll ask for water, and we'll say, "Mom, you can't have any." I'll try to get her to rinse her mouth out whenever she gets thirsty like that, or I'll definitely give her some water through her G-tube. But she'll be so thirsty for water, she will put her hands together like she's, begging, like, please. And she'll mouth the words, please, like, please, a little bit, just a little bit. And it's not easy. It's not a easy thing to deal with. And so it's hard, but this one time in particular she did that, and I didn't cry. Instead of holding back tears, which I've done a lot of, I haven't got away with it a lot. I mean, I've gotten away with that a lot, but there's been times where she can tell. My mom knows me better than anybody, so she can tell when something's bothering me. But I wasn't holding back tears. This one time she did that, and I started laughing. I had to hide my face because I was laughing, and I didn't find it funny. The opposite. I don't know why. It scared me. I honestly felt like I had broken. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop laughing. And it wasn't like a hysterical Joker laugh or nothing like that. It wasn't like that at all. It was just a laugh that I couldn't stop. I couldn't show her my face because I couldn't stop laughing, and my heart was breaking while I'm laughing, and there was nothing funny about it. That was like one of the... I've had moments in my past where I've had like just weird moments, but I never felt like I had malfunctioned or broke like that so outwardly. And that's what scared me, to the point where I couldn't even react right. I couldn't even, my body wasn't synchronized with my mind. Like I couldn't cry anymore. It got to the point where I was laughing instead of crying, even though I found nothing funny. I was hurt. It was breaking my heart. And that's what really worried me, about how I was handling it, about what state I was in. So after that is when I started to really try and not give in to my depression. That's when I really started to try and combat it, get ahead of it, because I was going down a very dark path. I was hurting, I was struggling, I was feeling almost defeated. I'm just thankful for the fact that I do have a fire inside of me that reassures me, that keeps me believing that things are going to get better. And they have. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect. Perfect to me is my mom being herself again. You know, she's getting there. She still has a long way to go, but like I said before, she still has things like she used to do, and like little mannerisms and stuff that she'll do once in a while. It'll come back, and it'll be just like such a refreshing feeling. Because she's still in there. And I fully believe she's going to come back to being herself again. But until then, it is like there is a part of my mom missing still. And it's hard to think how my mom is my best friend. She really is. I don't like calling anybody my best friend. I have so many best friends. But if I would have to pick one, it'd be my mom. My mom is my best friend. My mom is I have some wonderful people in my life who have my back. But nobody has my back like my mom. And that's part of the reason why I think I have so much guilt. But yeah, she is my best friend. And she's done so much for me. She stuck with me through everything. She's been with me through everything. She's helped me through everything. And I just feel like I completely let her down with this. If I would have just caught something sooner, if I would have just acted sooner, if I would have did this or that, or I could have prevented all of this. And I know I'm being hard on myself. I know there's only so much things we can do. We can't see the future. I know that. But I feel like I should have been way more aware and alert in the moment. There's just so much I wish I could do different. And at the same time, I feel like if I had done certain things different, who knows that those wouldn't had possible even worse outcomes somehow. You know what I mean? Like I think about that a lot. Whereas things happen for a reason, and like if you like I've told a story I believe on here before, how I didn't go to work one night because I just felt like something was off, and there ended up being a crash along my route to work around that exact same time of when I would have been in that spot. And if you think about, like, sometimes you call off work and the night or day goes along and it's almost over, whatever, you're like, man, I wish I would have went to work. I'd have been over with, it would have been done, I'd have made some money. But if you'd have went to work, if I would have went to work, I could have gotten that crash. So, I try to tell myself that if I would have done something different, who knows if that would have had a even worse outcome, or you never know. I just feel like I let her down. I always say to myself, I wish that she had a her taking care of her instead of me. Because she deserves the best. And I'm trying. People do tell me I'm doing a good job, and doctors and friends and family and strangers. I just wish I could have done better, and I wish I could do better, but I am trying. I'm not giving up on the fact that she'll have that trach out one day, she'll have that G-tube out, and she'll be herself again. I'm not giving up on that fight, no matter what the doctors say. But thankfully, her one ENT, he feels that there is promise for her getting her trach out eventually. Not right now, but he says that he sees there could be a chance, and I'm holding on to that. But I had recorded this episode so many times, I had written it a few times over. I was going to have a step-by-step thing, basically specifics, and laying out the entire journey for you guys. And every time I recorded it or I wrote it, I have another idea on that. Because it was essentially going to be another Cancer in the Aftermath episode, which is a series I do on here. Unfortunately, is a series that I've done on here, that I hope I will no longer have to do until hopefully like a episode where my mom is herself again and completely better. But yeah, thank God, which she is. She is clear of cancer. She doesn't have cancer anymore, thank God. But I have ideas on how to do that. I didn't think that that's where I wanted to go with this. So I just wanted to get on here and just have an episode where I just talk with you guys and kind of get some things off my chest. And I really did miss doing this. I miss talking to you guys. I miss putting these episodes together. Actually trying to take the time out to do it, to put aside an hour at least a week to come talk to you guys, get it out of my system. But yeah, I really did just miss doing this. I miss talking to you guys. I miss putting these episodes out, because even if there's a chance somebody out there could benefit from my story and whatever chapter I'm telling, then it's worth it. I've had messages before, people telling me how much they enjoy my podcast, or it's helped them in some capacity. And I have a video on my YouTube, kind of showcasing some of those off, and things like that. They really touch me. It's a feeling that you can't replicate. And it's a feeling I hope to get a lot more of, because we live in a cold world sometimes, and I truly believe in the people who add warmth to it. We go through some rough things in life, things that are a test to us, things that are a struggle, things that are unbearable, painful, and I truly find beauty in those who add color to this very, very at times monochrome world. Somebody who I really looked up to, really admired, really loved in the wrestling world, unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago. Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. I'm such a Bray Wyatt fan, Wyndham fan, and I took his death hard. There's not a lot of celebrity deaths that I take hard. In one of Wyndham Rotunda's quotes, one of many amazing quotes was, "I am the color red in a world that's black and white." And I am thankful for everybody out there who adds a little color to this world. And I really hope that I'm able to do that with these episodes, with this podcast. But I'm going to end that here. I hope I'm here next week again. I'm not going to promise any consistency or dates, but I look forward to coming back more often. And I really hope that I'm able to provide for you guys a pretty consistent return. And if you have any ideas, anything you'd like to hear me talk about, mention, whatever, shoot me a message, leave a comment, whatever. Follow the Facebook. It's the most up-to-date site I have. I'm going to try to be more active on that again. I still have a lot of ideas for future episodes that I'm looking forward to and I've actively started to prepare for. So, if you enjoy my podcast, if you enjoy anything that Shatter and Breathe does, please join with us. Please follow and just come along for the ride, because I'd be really happy to have you here. So I thank you so much for listening. Visit the link tree, follow, and I hope you're back here next week. Thank you so much for listening and giving me your time. It means more to me than you know.
It's hard, I know I'm better off just restarting, but you still own my heart.